FloTrack world record in any event, including the 5K. That would equate to a 12:47, and we know that Grant races the 5 and the 10K at the championship level, so he is looking to put on an absolute show.
You like those points numbers. I like minutes and seconds.
I like all numbers.
And talking minutes and seconds, again, the world record existing all the way back to 2004, almost 21 years old, 12:49.60. Just one of the all-timers. Holly Gaber-Selassie, number 2 at 12:50.38. Daniel Coleman, another Hall of Famer, at 12:51. Then we come to BU, number 4 and 5 all-time, Woody Kincaid, the blistering final lap 2 years ago, where he blew past Joe Klecker, 12:51.61. Grant Fisher narrowly missed the American record last year, 12:51.84. He is number 5, and then Klecker sitting at number 7, but you go all the way deep into the top 50, and Kieran Tunavate, who we just saw earlier in the 3K, he is sitting at number 50 in the world at 13:08.41. He ran it here in BU. They're lining the infield and outside of the track, and they just gave Grant Fisher a tremendous ovation, a packed house here at BU, 25 laps. He only has to average 30.48 per go-round. The record pace, 30.78. So when you're requesting 0.3 of a second faster than the world record, unbelievable request, and we'll see if he can fulfill that tonight. Hot heat, men's 5K.
Grant Fisher looking to make us believe on that confidence that he has shown all season long. Just his 3rd race of the season, but he opened with that 1500, placing 2nd. He was closing ground on Josh Hoey at the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix, and that ultimately set him up for that 3K, where he outkicked Cole Hocker, who is widely considered one of the best kickers worldwide, even by Grant himself. He said he was just happy that he was able to close with one of the best closers in the world, and ran 7:22.91, the 3K world record, the first of potentially 2 this indoor season.
The crowd is already in it. 15 in this first section of the men's 5,000. DJ Principe and Henry McLucky, they have the difficult task, a very difficult task. You think it's tough on Grant Fisher. They got to get him to a point where he's going to go solo the rest of the way.
And they can't kill him out here. They went sub 30 through that opening lap, and they're going to be below a minute at the 400 split. Grant Fisher would ideally want to be around 60.96 per 400 meters, so we'll look to see how steadily they can dial this back after having gone out early, responding to that adrenaline.
So that 4th man in that lead group, no slouch at all, Jimmy Gressier from France, coming in with a 12:54 5,000 PR. So he is at the tail end of that group. Our 2 pace setters again, Principe and McLucky up front, 3 laps in 1:30. That is more on mark.
And the field, the crowd, everybody knows it. Can't forget about Jimmy Gressier looking to become the first Frenchman to break 13 indoors. Ran 13 flat 54 here at the Terrier Classic, just ahead of Romain Legendre, who set the D2 record in that race. Came back to do the same in the 3K today, but he's shown that he's willing to go for this field for as long as he can. Let's see what they split through 800.
And again, an incredible crowd through 800 meters in 2:01 point. So right where they need to be. Just under 2:02. They're back more consistent at 31.1. A little slow. We'll see how Fisher and company can close, specifically, most likely Fisher and Gressier, running for the Lions Track Club.
I mean, they have completely dropped the rest of this field, so those are likely going to be the only 2 in contention for the win. But this race was all set up for Grant Fisher as they come to the first of 5 kilometers, looking for 2:32, right on pace.
2:32 on mark as the second group goes through in 2:37, 2:38. And that is Nick Randazzo, most likely the pace setter for this second group, because you don't want to forget about these guys who are off low 13 runners, but they are well back already.
One of the top runners in this race that we've yet to mention, Yassine Abdallah, looking to climb up the collegiate ranks. Of course, last time he ran 5K, that was at the tail end of a double after running the number 3 all-time collegiate 3K.
Another lap in the books for that lead group of 4. Principe, McLucky, Fisher, and Gressier.
Grant Fisher just looks so rhythmic and relaxed. Of course, it's the early portion of the race, so everybody looks rhythmic and relaxed at this point. But Grant Fisher has showcased the ability time and time again to replicate that form no matter what stage of a race he's in. He never panics, even when he's being challenged by the best in the world. And he's pulling up a little bit on the shoulder of the pace setters. He's eager to get after this one, Phil.
And definitely, we'll see how quickly he has to close because, as we know, Woody Kincaid in that facility record and American record at 12:51.61. His final 200 meters, he busted out from Joe Klecker, who was in the lead, and won by 2 seconds going away. Principe moving aside. It is now up to Henry McLucky wearing the Adidas kit.
So the pace definitely slipped a little bit. If you want to maintain that 12:42 pace, 4:03.84 was the ideal 1600 split. They were around a second off of that, but let's not forget that 12:42 is still a substantial margin ahead of Bekele's world record, so we're still well ahead of record pace.
So again, maybe a fallback, the American record, Woody Kincaid, because obviously Fisher was disappointed a year ago when he narrowly missed that mark right here at the same venue where Kincaid ran his 12:51.
It's hard to call it a miss, though, when you consider how he got there, running the entire last 3 kilometers. The split to go that we're about to reach come the next crossing of the start-finish line by himself. The Pacers had stepped off by 2K, and Grant had to do everything himself. Nearly got the American record with all of that solo effort.
So they were 2:32, now they're 5:07, so they definitely have slipped a little bit the pace. We'll see how McLucky can continue to push the tempo, and then once he steps aside, how much of a boost will Grant Fisher get from having Jimmy Gressier right behind him in the number 2 position?
Yassine Abdallah still leading that chase group over Jonas Roos, the Swiss representative athlete from Athletics Club Europe. They're well out of frame right now, and it's really important for Grant Fisher that Gressier is still there with him to keep the pace going, not just in front of him, but behind him in the eventual, inevitable event that the pacer steps off.
So, how soon do you think that, again, the track math is going to catch up to Grant, and you know what, we're a little bit behind, and I'm really going to have to do basically what I did a year ago, push the tempo to the limit, to that red line that only few athletes can take everything. With 12 laps or 13 laps to go, they'll hit the 2,500 mark at the back straightaway. They're at 6:18 coming up on the board. They're going to be just a little bit behind that 12:42 pace. They're at 12:46, still under the existing world record by several seconds.
And Phil, when you ask that question, when would that switch go off in Grant's mind to realize that he's got to do the rest of the work? The answer, the halfway point. Here we go.
It is now a 2-man race. Grant Fisher and Jimmy Gressier, and the crowd is letting them know it. A big part of any equation in a record-breaking attempt is the atmosphere. I've heard athletes talk about how it was dry. They needed to get the rhythmic clapping going in the field, or otherwise. As Fisher gains a little bit of separation over Gressier, coming up, the crowd into it once again, on their feet, cheering on the top American distance runner at 5 and 10K, Grant Fisher.
7:08.7 through 2,800 meters. We're going to get his 3K split come the next lap. 7:37.2 would be 12:42 pace, but again, just what we've seen from Grant Fisher, his speed is on another level this season, and that's coming from an athlete with elite strength. He combines them like few other ever have on the world distance scene, and he's proving that things we previously thought were possible are.
7:40, a couple of seconds off that 12:42 clip through 3,000 meters. But what is an amazing visual right now, how Grant Fisher has really just stepped away to another level over Jimmy Gressier from France in the number 2 spot. No slouch again, a 12:54 performer over this distance.
and Grant Fisher would have placed in the top 10 in the open 3K. That is just to illustrate how fast he is moving right now. He is in complete control. His form has not wavered since the opening stages of this race, and he's just got to keep doing it lap by lap, clicking it off. He has such a good internal clock. We cannot say it enough, and that is what he has to rely on at this point.
You jump to that point, that internal clock, the greatest athletes have it. Whether it's the tempo in basketball, whether it's football, whether it's hockey, or whether it's running. All out 200-meter runs around a banked oval in Boston, Massachusetts. Grant Fisher is dialed in, and the fans are behind him.
8:41 was his split with 1,600 meters to go. Of course, a viral workout recently was posted of Grant Fisher doing a rare speed type of workout midway through the season, closing 1,600 meters in 4 flat. He's totally got this if he can keep it going.
Other than these 13 athletes on the oval and their coaches, everybody else is a fan here today. Grant Fisher, again, getting it from the crowd, hearing it.
There are athletes that have competed hours ago that could have totally gone home and spent the rest of their days on the couch, cooling down, doing whatever they could have easily done, but they chose to stay here at the Track and Tennis Center, knowing that a world record opportunity was on the line.
The next situation that may present itself is Grant Fisher is going to start coming upon lap runners. The main part of this field is not that far ahead of it.
No. And that was one thing he didn't really have to deal with a whole lot at the Terrier DMR Challenge last year. So a bit of a contrast, blessing in disguise perhaps, at last year's effort, despite having to run the majority of it solo. We'll see how that ultimately factors in as he is within 50 meters of the lap traffic.
So he already had to go around one of the athletes at the tail end of this field as Abdallah from Arkansas leading that chase group, but Grant Fisher is not far behind. 5 laps remaining, final kilometer. He still has an opportunity at the world record.
And this is where he's got to be feeling those twitch fibers start to awaken from that 3:33 personal best in the 1500 at the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix. He said after Millrose that had he not run that 1500, it was very possible that he couldn't have won that race against Cole Hocker and come home in that world record time of 7:22.91.
30.8 seconds of next to last go round. 4 laps remaining, just under 11 minutes. Grant Fisher, when does he become a sprinter? When does he become a quarter miler? 30.9, drop just a little bit to pace.
I bet some of our viewers could argue that he's been a sprinter this whole time. I mean, he is still moving at lightning quick pace and making it look effortless.
And again, Grant Fisher is coming up on the tail end of that chase group. This chase group has to understand where they are, and they need to hopefully step aside as Fisher goes out into lane 2 to make the pass. This is going to seriously affect the final number, hopefully not on the negative side when it comes to the world record attempt.
The field's still sticking in lane 1. What are they doing? They know this is a world record attempt, and Grant Fisher cannot be afforded any extra meters.
Here comes Fisher. What's he going to do? He's going to come up into the turn. He's going to have to take it out into 2. Grant Fisher, 2 laps remaining. Here he comes. They're going to the rail, giving him the opportunity to pursue history. Again, the world record, 12:49.60, has been on the books since February 20th of 2004 by McKinley, one of the all-time greats. Fisher is clear, coming up to the bell. He's got to close quickly to get the world record. Here he goes.
And he passed that field so smoothly, showcasing his veteranship in full force. He was only 6 years old when Kenenisa Bekele, one of the all-time distance greats, set the all-time indoor mark. And here he is at Boston University with a chance to break it.
The all-time America record, 12:51.61. The world record, 12:49.60. Grant Fisher's got 10, 12:30, still on the clock. Here he comes for home. It is a new world record for Grant Fisher. Listen to the crowd. 12:44.09 for Grant Fisher and the hundreds of friends of his here at Boston University. He destroys a 21, almost 21-year-old record of Kenenisa Bekele, and he shows his appreciation to the crowd. They return the favor. Gressier runs 12:54.92, just off his all-time best, but a massive, monumental world record for Grant Fisher, 12:44.09. Unreal.
He is the first American to ever complete 5 kilometers in sub 12:45. His outdoor record, 12:46, still stands, but in this all-time oval at the fastest track indoors, he has claimed his 2nd world record in a 6-day span. Can you believe it?
So he's walking around with the fruits of his labor, a red rose, as he just congratulated and thanked his pace setters, DJ Principe and Henry McLucky, who set the table for him. They took it out right on pace. He closed tremendously well. 12:44.09, the new world record, the men's 5,000.
A very happy Valentine's Day indeed, as we just saw at the Valentine Invitational. I mean, it is all love here from Grant Fisher, and I find it hard to believe that smile will leave his face anytime soon, even after having just run 25 laps around in less than 12 minutes and 45 seconds. He set an incredibly tall task for himself by challenging those pacers to take him out at an historic pace. And even if it wasn't a 12:42 as he had asked for, he ultimately set himself up for that success. Knowing the type of athlete he is, that's such an important aspect of Grant Fisher's game.